All right, we'll get to the data in a second.
Mhm.
First off, how do you think the class went? Turn on
So
a light real quick. Sorry.
they're fine.
Sorry, just wanted you to be able to see me. Okay, go ahead.
I think the class went really well.
Mhm.
I am slightly disappointed in the amount of students that turned in their homework, but other than that, I feel good. I feel like the lesson was okay.
Mhm. And how did you? I did notice that you had students that were facilitating the learning, and you stepped in where you deemed necessary. How did you feel that went?
So I think it was because some students missed they came late to class.
Mhm.
So I know that this hybrid virtual learning is difficult for some students, especially with time management.
Mhm.
But they were able to come in, pick up, and take off once they knew what we were doing.
Mhm. On that note, um, do you think it may be useful to, when students come in late, possibly to put them into a breakout room so that you could catch them up
Mhm.
and then um, put them in with the large group? I'm just thinking about this in the sense of during our regular school years, if a student comes late, typically our teachers, work with them on the side and then bring them back.
Yeah, I was thinking like how I can best do that. One thing that I find that, and this is not an excuse, when I'm in a breakout room, it doesn't let me know someone's at the door to let them
Mhm,
in until I go
mhm,
back to the main room.
mhm,
So I'm wondering if I could probably do that, give them a small if they come in late, I stay in the main room. They come use a different platform so that I don't have to leave the main room, but I can still hear and see what's going on. Yeah, I think I'm
mhm.
gonna look into that
Okay,
so I can
sounds good.
support the students. Yeah.
All right. Now, just as a refresher, um, so for the lesson I was observing, we were looking at a standard that focused on planning and conducting, and also describing and classifying materials.
Yes.
We were looking at the honors level course, um, and you wanted them to focus on identifying uh, the different materials and also saying essentially how these materials were formed, etc. Can you talk to me a little bit about some of the observations you had with them completing this task and then the evidence that you had that they successfully did that?
So where I have the states of matter lab. This is their grade using the rubric for the lab. About five, six, seven, eight. 8 out of the 27 students scored. Let me see what percentage is that. That's 29% scored mastery. And then I had one, two, four, five, six, seven, eight. 8 out of the 27 score proficient. So that's another 29%. So you can say about 60% because I have one student that scored a zero. No, two students that scored zero.
Hmm.
And then one student, she scored a three. And when I checked in with her, I was asking questions as to like what was the misconceptions, because the two students that earned zeros, they earned zeros because they didn't even come to class or my office hours to redo the assignment. So that's why they have a zero.
But
Um,
you do have documentation showing that you gave them an
yeah.
opportunity.
So I
Okay.
sent the email and I included the academic dean and their
Mhm.
parents as to coming to my office hours so they can complete it. I
Mhm.
gave them a timeline until our asynchronous day,
Mhm.
and they never checked in with me.
Okay.
So Um, yeah, so the lowest score is my three,
Mhm.
and she said she just didn't understand the language barrier between like solid, liquid, and gas when it translates. Um, so that was my only thing. I was like, well, dag, I missed that one. So I'm kind of upset.
Is that student an L student that's in your honors class?
She's an L student in my honors class. Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. She doesn't
So,
speak Spanish. She's Ethiopian.
mhm.
So she doesn't have any like real support. So I was trying to figure out how I could better support her so this wouldn't happen again.
Now, if I recall correctly, your lesson had a lot of images in it.
Mhm.
Do you know if that helped her at all, or?
So it helped her in the beginning with the do now, the check for understanding, but the with the lab part, she just didn't understand how something that was a solid could still vibrate in place. So then I
I
was
see.
like, yeah, I was like, dag, how did I miss that? Because I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, it's a FET lab and you can see it as a solid and it's vibrating, but that connection, she just could not. She's like, I don't see my desk vibrating, and I was like, well, think of it on a smaller scale. Like it's
Hmm.
happening, but you just can't see. Like the world is spinning, but you just can't feel it.
Hmm.
So when I did that little check in, that helped, but it was like after the fact. So I'm
Hmm.
trying to decide if I should let her like redo it or not.
Okay. So I'm seeing that on your do now data, I'm assuming that the highest a student could score was a 2.
Yes.
So the do now data does support that early on in the lesson, students, were doing really well. They understood. And then for states of matter data, you had some students that were struggling. And from what you're telling me, it sounds as if they started struggling when we went from that macro scale to the micro scale.
Yeah.
And that's fair because they can't actually see it. Now, one of my concerns I have, Miss Peters, is I'm looking at this homework data and I'm only seeing one score
One
here.
student. Yes. So I asked the students, why didn't they do the homework?
Mhm.
And they were like, oh, we didn't think it was due yet. I was like, but the due date was on the slide and it's on Google Classroom. It sends you reminders. So I'm thinking I can use the asynchronous day to allow them to check in with me and then do the homework then.
Um, so all right. Looking at this, and not a this statement may sound a little harsh,
Hmm.
but it is not meant as a deterrent to you, and it is not something that's going into your file, etc. But I just want to say this so that we're both on the same page.
Right.
You had one student that did the assignment, and the majority of your class did not. So, based on the data, it would appear to be a miscommunication. So, how could we communicate, or what is the best means of communicating those deadlines with students so that way there is no misunderstanding?
When I uploaded it into Google Classroom, it had a date, and I asked them, do they check their email for the reminders? I guess I could send another message out, like a mass text message or email to their parents to
Mhm.
remind them they have homework. I just don't want to flood the parents' inboxes, but I can do
Mhm.
that. I can communicate more with the students and their parents about when assignments are due.
So, Google Classroom gives them a email.
Yes,
Then they also have the Google Classroom itself that has the due date.
yes.
Do you know if there's a third option that does not add another touch point for you?
Um, what if I know a lot of the students follow me on social media.
Mhm.
My teacher page, I can post it on my teacher page too. It's an easy post. They're always scrolling. That will help remind them.
Hmm. Definitely a novel idea. I don't think I've seen other teachers do that before. um, you know what? If you don't mind, I'd like to take that back to maybe our um, internal leadership and see how they feel about that.
Okay.
And maybe that might be something we could do, but let's hold off until we can discuss uh, let's go with the legal nature. I just want to make sure that we're all safe, okay?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, because I created the teacher page, which is
Hmm.
separate them from my personal page. So
Hmm.
all we talk about is like school stuff on there, like anything going on with the school, any events I posted there or any celebrations.
Okay. Yeah, I want us to make sure that we're being safe. Okay. So the kids have a couple of touch points where they could check the due dates. I know it's a virtual. Oh, and it's also on do the students have the PowerPoint slides as well?
Yes, let's
Right. They have a copy of this as well, correct?
yep, and their interactive notebooks, yeah.
Okay. So I really want to get this homework thing addressed.
Hmm.
The mass text or mass email to the parents,
Hmm.
maybe we should consider highlighting that there are 3 different areas in which these due dates are stated,
Yeah.
because them not doing homework that's unacceptable.
Okay.
All right. So just consider that. And then you can always CC me on a mass email like that, because I support it 100%. Um, you know, you're offering 3 different locations for them to find this due date. So one person doing the homework is just unacceptable.
Okay.
Um, okay. Dun, 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 dun. Do now looks great. The lab, I'm loving the fact that 60% of your students are proficient or higher. That's awesome. So please keep that up.
That's
Great
good.
job there.
Yeah.
Um, Last time we spoke, I have highlighted here about the planning portion of the standard. Was there, were you able to give any thought to that?
So I was thinking about introducing a project and having them plan out how they would best use states of matter to run the building. So maybe like just like how you said before, with an extension to it. So as we go along and learn more about states of matter, then they plan out how we can maybe use hydropower or some other form of energy, like to combine states of matter with the energy unit to plan how we can supplement instead of using regular electricity for another form of energy.
Is the energy unit the next unit that follows this one?
Yes.
Okay, I like that. It would be a very nice segue into that unit.
Hmm.
Um, and then you're thinking of this being like an independent kind of project. How much time would they have for this?
So I was thinking 3 weeks, and then I roll it out with different parts. I can't give them all at one time because one, I don't want the students to feel overwhelmed, and two, I want them to actually like engage in it and not just feel like it's a meaningless task. So I'm
Mm.
gonna break it up into parts. I started thinking about how to plan it. Did you want to take a look at it now, or do you want to wait till later?
Let's finish going over this lesson, and then we could definitely take a look at that if we have more time.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep, not a problem. All right. Is there anything that I should have noticed while I was observing your lesson?
Um, the school, like the culture that I established with my students, even though we are virtual, for them to lead the conversation and lead the lesson more than me leading. Yes, I did step in, but I feel like I didn't step in as much as I would normally in the beginning of the school year.
Hmm. Yes, I definitely saw that, and like I said, I really like that. And we may have to borrow some of your ideas there. So
Most
uh,
definitely. I love
thank you for
collaboration.
showing me that and highlighting that in our pre conference, and then again here. So that's excellent work.
Yeah.
Um, so if you don't mind, I'd like to share some of my observations, and get your feedback on them, or just any clarification you could offer.
Please.
I did notice the students that came late. It seemed as though they already had some idea as to what their procedures were. So that was excellent. Being that it's a virtual class, I understand that it's a little more difficult for students to kind of catch up because you're essentially just looking at a screen. It's kind of hard to ask somebody that's sitting right next to you, hey, what do I do, when the whole class can hear that?
Yeah.
So I definitely understand that. Um, from my end, I'm thinking as well as to, hey, how can we solve some of these problems for teachers? Um, and if I find something, I'll definitely fill you in on that.
Mhm.
Um, one of the things that I noticed with regards to um, students learning, so in the beginning of your lesson, you tell them about the homework assignment,
Mhm.
which is awesome. It definitely preps them. But at the end of the lesson, I didn't see mention of the homework assignment, which
Mm.
could also, serve as that communication gap. Um, and then another piece was the, well, first, let me deal with that. Do you think it may be beneficial to just add one more slide that reminds students of the homework?
I can. It wouldn't hurt.
Okay,
Like just like when you're closing out or before they leave to go to their next class or go to lunch, just
right.
say, don't forget to do, the homework and whatever else. Yeah.
Absolutely. So just maybe one more reminder slide somewhere around that exit ticket so students don't forget. And then when it comes to student learning, when they're working together, um, I know you do the small group and you do the check-ins um, with the breakout rooms. How how are you monitoring that students are being productive when you're not in their breakout room?
Oh, so with the interactive notebook, as they are working, on my other screen, I'll open up different tabs and have
Mhm.
the students' interactive notebook, and I'll just go through it. And I'll say, I'll jump into that room. Hey, there's nothing on your slide. What's going on? Do y'all need help? And that way, it'll help me know who's on task, who's not on task, who's engaged, and like that.
Okay, so you're measuring engagement based on how much productivity you're seeing, and then you're able to distinguish who's actually being productive and
Yeah,
who's engaging. Okay,
exactly.
awesome. All right, thank you.
Because, like you said, I can't just go and like see. So I need
Hmm.
to see without them, feeling like I'm a constant presence. I don't know how to make it sound.
Just omniscient. Just she's
Yes,
everywhere.
she's trying to be. She's trying.
All right. Okay, wonderful. Let me see. Just to circle back for a quick second, moving forward for that L student, um, have do you have plans to make any adjustments into your future lectures or lessons, excuse me, with regards to macro versus micro observations?
Yeah. I was thinking just making sure like when we go into the breakout rooms, maybe she doesn't want to ask me whole group, maybe she wants to ask me small group. So maybe when I open the breakout rooms or I'll go into her breakout room and I'll just be like, well, did you understand this? Do you have any questions?
Hmm.
Or I can have her private message me. A
Hmm.
lot of students have the ability to private message me and the co-host.
Hmm.
That way, if they have any questions and they feel uncomfortable asking it out loud in the chat, they can private message me.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Well, thank you very much, Ms. Peters. I think you did an excellent job with the lesson. Obviously, we always have places where we can grow because we always get new students and they have, different little caveats. So um, I'm actually glad that you had that student that threw you the curveball.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
because it only makes us better, right?
yes,
Um,
definitely.
even in our pre-observation, that was something I didn't even see. I wasn't expecting it, but I'm glad that student was there, and we can definitely learn and get better for each year and each group of students that we have. um, I think you did an excellent job keeping your lesson very close to the standards. Your data looks good. We just got to work on that communication piece. So if you do send out that mass text or email, I think the email would be a little bit more professional, but I'm sure you'll make the best decision there. Um, just to remind parents of how we're communicating out deadlines so they can help students. Um, then with your standard. Everything seems to be aligned. You have data to support student understanding. Did you have your exit ticket data?
So I actually had them do conclusion questions because it was a lab
Mhm.
instead of an exit ticket, like a traditional exit ticket. That was their exit ticket.
Okay. With your conclusion, I'm sorry, conclusion questions, have you had a chance to grade those, and did
That
you
was the grade
observe
right.
anything?
Yeah, that was the grade, the States of Matter lab with the student that scored a 3, and the 2
Okay.
students that scored zeros. I used the rubric to grade, and the students are able to see the rubric so they can see what I'm looking for when
Oh,
they're.
okay. I understand. All right. Yeah, if that's it. Yeah, I don't have any other questions for you. Great job.
Thank you. I'm trying.
Thank
I
you.
read
Thank
and
you for all
study.
your hard work.
Yes, thank you for the feedback.
Yes, absolutely. Um, Moving forward, I would love for us to loop back. Um, how is, do you have time next week, Wednesday?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
how's next week, Wednesday? Let's do 2:30.
Okay. Yeah, hopefully I'll have some more better data with the
Okay.
homework because I've had a second touch point with the students.
Yes, let's get that homework data together.
Yes.
All right, wonderful. Thank you very much, Ms. Peters, and I appreciate your time.
All right. Have a great day.
All right, you too.